Hi, I'm Jay Burney, and we're here today with Jane Goodall, who has made a keynote address to our Learning Sustainability Conference in Buffalo. Jane, thank you so much for participating in our event. You talk wonderfully about things like hope and love, and we're so glad that you're here to meet with us and help our community build sustainable programs. One of the questions I want to ask you is about the Roots and Shoots program. Could you tell us a little bit about what Roots and Shoots is?
Yes, it's my passion, so I'm very happy to talk about it. And first of all, it's a symbolic name, with the roots making a firm foundation and the shoots being very tiny, but to reach the sun, being able to break through brick walls. And we see the brick walls as all the man-inflicted problems on the planet, ranging from environmental degradation, loss of species, climate change, and also crime, cruelty, war, and so forth. But the message is one of hope, that hundreds and thousands of young people around the world, the roots and the shoots, can break through and make their world a better place. So we now have about 4,000 active groups, but it's growing daily, so it's quite a lot. In over 60 countries around the world, very strong in the United States, in every state, very strong in Canada. And every group tackles 3 different projects to make its world a better place. For the human community, their own community, for animals, and that includes domestic animals, dogs, cats, pigs, and so forth, as well as wild animals, and finally the environment that we all share. And these are hands-on action programs. And the exact projects that the kids do depends on how old they are, because we start from preschool and go right through university. It depends if they're in a city or rural, depends if they're in the United States or Tanzania or China.
These programs are linked, they talk to each other, or how do they communicate with each other, and how do they share ideas?
Okay, they share ideas, and they're linked in different ways depending on where they are. We have many groups in the developing world who live in tremendous isolation. They don't even have electricity or running water or clean latrines, let alone computers. And so communication, if a school in the United States communicates with a school in Tanzania, and this is what we encourage, they may have to use paper and pencil in the good old-fashioned way. Across the United States and many other parts of the world, there is communication through the internet, which is wonderful because it's cheap and it's quick. And then with the relationship we have with Buffalo University and Don Jacobs, developing multi-country video conferencing. This is really exciting because the kids can get some sense of actually being with each other, talking to each other, even though they're in different corners of the world.
Can you tell us about some of the programs that kids and other people are involved in? What are they actually doing?
Well, they choose the sort of project that they really want to do. And so, for example, they might try and clean up a stream and reintroduce fish, and we have very successful programs like that. They might do simple things like picking up litter, like recycling. They might do a project to learn about wildlife in a particular area of their own surroundings, and then learn about similar problems of wildlife in different parts of the world with a companion school. They might go, and we have many programs where elementary kids go and visit old people's homes, not just to cheer up the old people, which they do, but to listen to the elders, to the voices which are disappearing from our communities.
You've done a lot of work at the Gombe Preserve around Lake Tanganyika. Have these programs changed cultural practices there, or changed abilities to survive, thrive?
We have the Roots and Shoots program in all the schools and all the villages around Gombe. And it's beginning to change the way that the children think about themselves in relation to their community. It's beginning to foster in them a sense of volunteerism, which before...
It might be the battery. Battery's dead? Okay. Well, we'll just keep talking. We'll use this line.
Okay. It's beginning to change the... what was I? It's beginning to change the way they think about their relationship with their community, which used to be you helped members of your family, but you really didn't help anybody else much. There wasn't any volunteerism in that way, and that's changing. And initially, the other children would laugh at them and say, well, why are you picking up this trash? You're not getting paid for it. Why are you planting trees? What's in it for you? You know, you're planting trees in the school playground and you're leaving next year, so what's the point of planting the trees? Now, the children are beginning to understand, and they're taking that knowledge with them as they leave school and go out into the world. So it's really making a difference.
These programs also work in large urban areas, for instance, the Buffalo area. The Roots and Shoots is perfectly applicable.
Yeah, there's a lot of Roots and Shoots programs in the Buffalo area, and we have very, very strikingly successful programs in places like the Bronx, South Central in Los Angeles, the real inner city kids, and it's giving them a sense of we concentrate. I mean, the most important message of Roots and Shoots is that every individual matters, has a role to play, and makes a difference. And if you can inform a child and empower that child to act and listen to what the child says and look at and praise what the child does, that changes their whole attitude. And kids who sat at the back of the class and who constantly played truant, suddenly they're now standing up and they're perhaps taking part in some play, and they're proud, and they go and talk to the mayor of the Bronx, which has happened, about getting rid of polystyrenes and school lunch boxes. We've done it in our school, now we want you to make it legal for the whole school system. It's amazing.
How do groups that want to participate in Roots and Shoots get involved? How do they contact the Jane Goodall Institute, for instance? How do they get involved?
They get involved very simply. They can check our website, which is www.janegoodall.org. They could contact the Buffalo University, Don Jacobs, at the what is his department?
Applied Technology Center, I believe.
Something
It's not
like
here,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah,
we'll get it named. So,
He's helping us a great deal to spread the Roots and Shoots message in Buffalo as well as around the rest of the world.
But the website's a good place to start.
The website's a very good place to start. They can call the office, which is 1-800-592-JANE. That's another way, but the website's probably the best. And there's a lot about Roots and Shoots.
Does it cost money to start a Roots and Shoots program?
Yes, it costs $30 for a group, which can be 5 kids or it can be 500 kids. It's one cost, and that provides a package of information, some suggested activities, newsletters about other Roots and Shoots groups, and so forth, and it's a yearly subscription.
Let me ask you 2 more questions. First question is, can you give us your definition of what a sustainable community is?
Well, a sustainable community is one that, the ideal sustainable community is one that lives in an area on land that can support most of the needs of that community, and that isn't constantly going and taking from other parts of the world, where this lays a very unfair burden on the people who are providing that commodity, because they're not. I think that we scrap that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure. What do we define as a sustainable community
one thing
in the rural, urban areas?
One thing I think of is there's a lot of links to other communities and other. I mean, the environment has links to business and has links to society, and so that's one thing. And other communities, other cultures, and I think that there's a lot that we don't understand about what affects what. So when I talk about sustainable communities, often I talk about the fact that we're linked to so many things, and we should think about that.
Yes, it's sort of a global sustainability, I think. It's very hard. I mean, you can't say Buffalo has to live on the amount of land that can feed it, because you can't do that. So we have to think, when we think of a sustainable community, I think it's part of a sustainable planet that we're actually thinking about, where an urban community can take resources from perhaps other parts of the world, but not in a way that is actually raping other parts of the world, where people are paid either nothing or a very bare minimum wage to provide food that the urban community in another country is using.
So we have to think about where things come from. For instance, we are a consumer society, and very much of this is social. There's social decisions, cultural decisions. So where our food comes from, and how, you mentioned
Yes.
last night quite a bit about where our products come from, what we buy, making those kinds of choices.
Yes, that this, I mean, the typical Western society, especially among the more affluent sections of society, is the most wasteful and unsustainable sort of way of life, and it's absolutely damaging the health of the planet. And if we continue in our wealthy societies to live in this unsustainable way, then the whole health of the planet will collapse, and it won't be that long till that happens. I truly believe this.
I know you have to go. Thank you for coming here. The last question I want to ask you is, how has September 11th changed our world?
September 11th, I think, is continuing to change our world in ways that we can't at this moment predict. But in one way, it's shocking, it's devastating, it's inflicted so much pain and so much suffering. Many innocent people have been killed. In another way, it's provided examples of heroism, love, compassion, and caring, which are very uplifting, which help us to combat the grief and the despair, I think. And also, I truly hope that it serves as a wake-up call, because why? Why this terrorism, which the rest of the world has been living with for some time? What causes it? What is the root cause of it? And in so many cases, I believe the root cause is linked with extreme poverty. People who have nothing. People who learn about the greedy, materialistic, and for them very often amoral way of life in the West, and they become very envious of some of the things we have that they don't have. And people who have nothing and who become envious are the perfect material to be fanned into the kind of fanatical hate of the West that led to the suicide attacks on the 11th of September. So my hope is that that's a wake-up call so that we can start thinking, learning, understanding, and caring about these people who can be made to commit suicide because they hate. Lead to think about what it's like for a child to be raised not to love people around, but to hate. Raised to hate. It's hard for us to understand that. And yet it's happening to millions of children in some parts of the world. They are raised to hate.
We could talk for a long time. I want to join the chorus of people that thank you. You've contributed a lot to our world, and we appreciate your being here today in Buffalo. And so we'll talk to you soon. And you've